So as Perla said, my name is Sisonke. I do a lot of work on storytelling. I'm based at the Center for Stories, which is on Aberdeen Street. We do real life storytelling. So something happened to you, you tell us a story about it. And so I help to kind of coach people to do that. But I also do a lot of work with the private sector. So Mining Executive has a big presentation that they want to make. I will help sort of coach them and get them ready for that big presentation. So lots of stuff around public speaking, but all my public speaking support and coaching is kind of grounded in the idea that story is central, right? So no matter what you do, if you're not telling a story, people are not going to stick with you. And so we're going to kind of work through a few slides that I've got to kind of talk about that concept. And none of it is anything that you don't already know. So there's no rocket science. You're not going to have like some amazing aha moment. What I hope you will do is recognize that like all of the things that people always say about storytelling, the things that you've learned since you were like this high in primary school about the narrative arc, beginning, middle, and end, all of that stuff actually really works. And if you focus too much on information and you stray from story, you lose people, right? So this is really designed to like get you to focus on story, particularly when you're doing stuff around being a founder. So I'm also attached to Bloom. So some of you will have seen me there. When you're doing stuff around being an early stage founder, you are selling your product, but you're really selling yourself and you're selling your story. So it's about how you, in a sophisticated and subtle way, kind of bring those things together. So before we get started, I thought it's a good idea for me to have a sense of who's in the room. So I'm just going to go around, start here, and ask you to all introduce yourselves, just your name and what your product or service is. Yep, let's just start up. Let's talk later.
I'm Oscar. We got vice for. Jorgen. So.
Okay. Yep.
My name is Roberto. I was part of the program last year, but I'm interested in understanding how I can improve my scientific presentations. See if I can pick up some.
Interesting. Yeah, work with lots of scientists who are super into jargon. Yeah. Okay. Yes. I'll talk to you guys later. Yes. Why don't you go? Yep, in the red shirt.
A large committee member. I also do content creation on the side, and I want to take storytelling into that.
Okay, great.
I'm James. I'm the chair for the student committee, and I have to do pitch night pitch. So this will be great.
Okay, good.
Hey, I'm Michael. Couple things, but what I'm here for is Auto Scraper Maker. So it's a product that automatically makes web scrapers.
Oliver, and we're building a realestate.com client sites with 3D visualization capabilities.
Sounds very well practiced. Fantastic. Okay, great intros. Oh, there's someone else in the back. Did you just come in? Yes, you in the yellow shirt.
Hi, sorry, Josh. I help play with the venture program as the entrepreneur in residence. So the first other businesses.
Oh, fantastic. Great. Thank you, everyone. So in addition to like being a person who helps to think and listen to stories, so I'm going to ask lots of questions, I am also Gen X. Okay, so that means there's a lot of stuff you will say that I will literally not understand what you are saying. And I'm also kind of representative of some of the people who are going to be in the room that you are going to be listening to. So if I ask a super dumb question, it is both because I have no idea, because I'm like way beyond you in age, but it's also because sometimes you're going to have to pitch to people who have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, and that's a part of the process. And so thinking about audience is like very, very important. Yeah. Okay. So stories are the oldest app for teaching. Yeah, they are the simplest way that we figure out how to learn. If you want someone to have a message or a lesson embedded in their brain, the thing you do is tell them a story. You can tell a kid, don't go over there, you will drown in that lake, and they will not listen to you. You can tell a kid a captivating story about this monster called the Loch Ness that lived in the middle of that huge lake, right? And what are they going to do? They're going to remember the Loch Ness monster, but more importantly, they're going to be scared of this thing that you have created, and they're less likely to go into the lake, right? So the reason why people invented stories is so that they could help people to remember stuff that was crucial for survival, right? So stories really are an app for teaching. They're an app as a shortcut to help us to remember stuff that's super important. And when you're pitching, you got 4 minutes, people need to remember what it is that you've said. So the thing they're going to remember is your story, yeah? Not a metric, some piece of information, some infographic that you might come up with. That stuff helps, but if they can have a through line and remember what you said, that's the thing that's going to get them. So the narrative arc is everything. So what is a story? Super simple equation. Event plus meaning, okay? This thing happened. This is the meaning I'm layering over it. We now have a story. Yeah. Very, very simple, but really important to remember. Yeah. Because what we do when we create that meaning is that we create the story, right? Many, many things can happen to all of us. We can all recount the same event, but what it means to you is completely different based on your life experience. So right now, if there was a little earthquake and we all felt a little rumble, someone who might have lived through an earthquake before in their life, they will attach a whole different layer of meaning onto that. And they will tell that story very, very differently from someone for whom it's just like a fun thing, like, oh, wow, that was interesting, right? So we tell our stories and we imbue them with meaning, and that's what makes the story. You will get the slides, and you can also interrupt me at any point. And hello, welcome. What's your name? And what's your thing? Okay. Great. As I said, I am Gen X, and I will not know what that means, but that's okay. We have lots of time. So when you tell a story, what you're trying to do is build connection and credibility, right? So often if I walk into a room filled with, filled with a bunch of like mining engineers who may not feel particularly like connected to me, I will not look like most of the people that they typically do work with. They'll be interested, but they may not feel like an immediate sense of connection with me. So I have to do a little bit of work to kind of help them to get across the line, right? And that happens quickly, within an instant, right? And so when you have the platform and you have the stage, you have an immediate obligation to kind of figure out what are those little things that are going to help build my credibility with this particular room and build a strong connection. So you're doing that both instantly, but you're doing that throughout your story, right? So your choice of story, we have 1 million stories. So you can choose any number of them, right? But the story that you choose to tell in a particular moment is all about how you connect with that audience and what is your credibility that you're building, what is the connection. So I will often say, when I first started doing work with a few of the big big corporates here in Perth, I would say, my name is Sisonke and I come from South Africa. Lots of people in mining have worked in South Africa, know mining, right? These industries work together very closely, but I would quickly say the country of Nelson Mandela, okay? And everybody knows who Nelson Mandela is, or in that demographic, everyone knows who Nelson Mandela is, like this guy who's a saint, who's a hero, who fought for justice, wonderful guy. And so I would immediately have him on my shoulder, right? So you don't know who I am. You have no connection to me. You don't know anything about South Africa. Maybe there's crime, right? And so I quickly forge a connection by putting Mandela on my shoulder, right? And for any number of us, that's different. Now, when I go there, because I've had lots of time to work with them, I will say, so last week, I was in Tom Price. And I met this really interesting person, and everybody who works in mining has been to Tom Price, has had a stint in Tom Price, right? So it has nothing to do with me, but I know that they know what Tom Price looks like. It immediately places us and forms a connection, right? And so even if they have nothing to ask me about the storytelling session that I've just run, at tea break, they can certainly talk to me about Tom Price. Oh, how long were you in Tom Price for? I was there for 10 years, right? So form a connection and often make a link between what that does for your credibility as you're saying it. As I said, super simple. It can simply be a geographic place, but it immediately connects you to your audience. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I do a lot of leadership training, and that stuff can be fluffy and really like boring. But there is a thing around leadership that I often feel like works really well when you think about storytelling. So it's called the trust triangle. I don't know how many of you have worked with or heard about this trust triangle. Anyone? Yeah, Chloe. So when Uber first started, was a startup, it like came straight out of the gate and it grew and it blew up. And then it really started to blow up culturally, right? So there was like all this negative press about Uber, like a bunch of things happened, over a very short period where trust in Uber started to be undermined by consumers, right? There were price surges and people were like, what is this? Like all of a sudden I need an Uber and like you're gonna bring the price up. There were a few like cab rides where people were like acting crazy. And then the CEO of Uber was caught like on camera, talking in a really terrible way to the Uber driver, right? So like a bunch of stuff, not to mention like all the Me Too stuff and the sexual harassment. So it had a pretty bad run. So this group of consultants came in to do some work with Uber, and they developed this thing called the trust triangle. And it's like really simple, but a really, I think, interesting way to think about leadership, but also importantly, what you're doing when you tell stories, right? So what they found is that when it comes to like people in senior leadership and their team, there's three things that build trust. The first is logic, right? So I'm your team leader. You believe in me. You trust me if three things are in place. You trust me if you think I can do the job, right? I'm competent. You can follow my line of reasoning when I speak to you, okay? So first leg of trust. Secondly, I experience the real you. We don't have to like each other. You may think I'm a really not a nice person, but I'm authentically so, right? So I know that when I'm in this room, I will be with you as I am now. And when I'm in the next room, if I'm an asshole, I'm going to be an asshole in that room too, right? So I'm authentically myself, right? Authenticity really counts. It doesn't mean you're a nice person. It just means you are authentic and people know what to expect of you consistently, yeah? So they can trust their feelings about you are going to be correct, right? Thirdly, empathy. I believe you care about me and my success. Once again, you don't have to be a nice person to have empathy. You have to be a person who cares so much about the team that you want me to succeed, right? And if I think you're undermining me, you don't want me to succeed for whatever reason, again, whether or not you're a nice person, if I don't think that you are invested enough in making me successful, I'm not going to trust you. You're going to be a bad boss, right? So those are the kind of three, axes of the trust triangle. And what they found was that in Uber, there was a very low level of trust because a lot of people couldn't figure out, people were wobbling on authenticity, right? People would say something in one room and say a different thing in another room. People were wobbling around authenticity. People were wobbling around empathy. Some people were wobbling around logic, but that's the easiest one to fix, right? Similarly in a story. If my thought process is not clear to you, it means I'm not a great communicator. Doesn't necessarily mean I can't think properly. If I can't think properly, that's a whole different set of problems and I probably shouldn't have the job, right? So a logic wobble, as the Americans call it, a logic wobble is a relatively easy one to fix. Okay, when you are telling a story, if I am not following you, I will tell you direct feedback as an audience. You will see lost looks, right? And that's why the process of getting feedback before you step on a stage is so important, because someone who's listening will just ask the dumb question. I don't follow your logic. Why did you say that? What assumption are you making that I don't know? Because we have lived our story. We have a lot of information that other people don't know. So if you don't say it, I won't know it, right? So that's a logic wobble in storytelling, and that's pretty easy to fix. But it's only fixable if you share your presentation with someone beforehand so they can ask the dumb questions. It's very, very important, okay? Authenticity wobble, you've got big problems, okay? But one of the things that people often do is that, and this is a huge, huge issue with storytelling and with making presentations, is that, you know, one of the main principles of storytelling is that you should tell your story as you are, right? So if you're a quiet person, don't try to act like an extrovert, because you'll come on stage and you'll be like, welcome everybody, it's wonderful to see you. And by the end of the talk, you'll be talking like this because this is who you are, right? So don't pretend extroversion, right? It does not make sense. Start how you intend to finish, which was also a lesson my mother told me about marriage. Don't start making breakfast on the first day for the guy if you're not gonna. So start how you intend to finish. Be yourself. And if people are interested, so be audible, but people are interested in an authentic experience. And human nature is, if someone is speaking low, or if it looks like they're shy, which is who you may be, people will lean in. They will lean forward, right? They need to pay closer attention because that's your style, that's your tone, that's who you are. Do not pretend to be something that you're not. Just tell a quiet story. Okay, it's really, really important, because you can't, you will not be able to sustain it, and it comes across as fake. So you'll adopt a different kind of voice. Like, people do all kinds of stuff that they shouldn't be doing simply to get away from the fact that they're just not like a person who's naturally comfortable on stage. Own it. That's who you are. People will empathize with you because of it. Okay. Sorry, I've gone ahead. And then the empathy one, big wobble. If people think that you are trying to undermine them, if people think that you're trying to pull one over on them, they will not, right? And with storytelling, the empathy one is especially important because you're interested in the audience having a good time, okay? I'm interested in people being interested in what I'm saying and not boring the crap out of you all, right? And so how do I show that to you? How do I show you that I'm interested in you? I ask you questions. So that was one example. I was doing it in that moment. What else? Yep. Eye contact. Eye contact is everything, because you don't always have a chance to ask questions, right? So you don't always have that. But eye contact is one, and another big one that you can build in to your storytelling is a kind of call and response thing, right? So that by the time your story is over, people have come to expect, right? Because you've used repetition. People have come to expect that you're going to say that particular word. So you can almost hear them say it. Or you could say, which means, and they'll say it, right? Because they've stayed with you, right? And you've made sure that you're putting these nuggets in. So there's like a ton of hacks about how you do that, but that's how you build empathy with your audience, right? So the biggest killer of empathy with audiences is having that piece of paper between you and the audience. I know people hate it, but it's just a fact. Like that lectern, like any barrier between yourself and the audience can be very, right? It gets in the way. And the paper, because you're looking at it. Or the screen, if you look at it too much. If you rely on that screen too much, you're losing connection. Yeah, it's an opportunity lost to make that eye contact and that connection with people. Okay. So credibility, connection, trust. That's what we're aiming for in this pitch. 4 minutes, is that what you're doing? 4 minutes? 5, even better. Don't give us a minute and take it back. Okay. Okay, so you know what a pitch is. Tell us who you are. Explain the problem that you're trying to solve. And importantly, why you are in a better position to solve it than anybody else. Okay? You know this thing so well. You have been a skincare aficionado for your whole life. Okay? Everybody who knows you knows your skin is immaculate. Okay? Whatever it is, why are you the best person to do this thing? And then show us why we should believe you. Yeah? That's really it. Like, we could talk about the financials and blah, blah, and blah, blah. The thing that people are going to remember ultimately is whether they believe you and whether they believe in you enough to actually schedule a second meeting and actually sit down and talk about the financials, right? So again, I told you this is going to be super simple. You have done it in class your entire life. There is no rocket science here. It's about your setting. It's about your stakes. And the setting was important. Remember I said that at the beginning? Tom Price, your setting is important because it's establishing a relationship between yourself and anyone in the audience, yeah? Your stakes. So why should we care? Why does this matter? Why should anyone in the audience care about your particular journey and where you're taking us, yeah? Resolution. How did I solve the problem? Okay. In every story, we have like that narrative arc, and we'll talk about that in a second, that narrative arc. The problem is resolved. You came up with this product, yeah? And then you have the call to action. So what you're going to do is invest in me now. Or you might want to do something a bit more sophisticated, which is leave them with a couple of little things, right? So you want to invest in me and my product and my business. But in the meantime, you're also going to scrub your face really well and use whatever, Korean skincare. Okay, I'm just using you because it's the only one I actually understood. Okay, so you're going to leave them with something that they can like take home with them and remember you by, but you're also going to leave them with invest in me now and let's talk, right? And if you do it in a way that works, the little nugget that you leave them is the entry point for someone to have a bigger conversation with you. And remember, not everyone is an investor. Some people are going to be crucial contacts, right? They're people that you can network with who will come up to you because you sparked an interest and you'll find out that there's something there. Okay, so what does a story need? It needs a beginning, it needs a middle, it needs an end. You are the main character, as the Gen Z kids always say, right? So you are definitely the main character. You are the protagonist, you are everything. This story is about how you came up with this idea and what it is, what struck you. What was the thunderbolt moment where you were like, oh my God, this is such a good idea? And if the true answer is like you were sitting in a boardroom spitballing, let's reach deeper. Let's reach deeper, right? And find a story that really explains why you. Who else was involved? Okay, so it was you and whoever. What was the setting? And what was the inciting event? So something had just happened and you were like, damn, this idea now makes so much sense, right? So all the high school 101 English stuff that you thought was behind you. Your plot, what happened, right? So you had this idea and then a bunch of things happened. Tell us what happened. Again, super simple. Conflict. Because we want to be on your side in your hero's journey, right? We need to have some stakes, and that means there's some conflict. So bad stuff happened. You tried and nobody believed in you and you dusted yourself off again and you tried again. Or you tried and you were instantly successful and you're like, oh my God, wow, I got $5 million. And then like you blew it all, you made a bunch of mistakes. And here you are again asking for more money, whatever, right? So create without tension, there is no action, there's no plot. Nothing happens to move the story along if you don't have conflict, yeah? The stakes is us caring about you. So that's your credibility, that's your connection. And then there's an end, right? So you came up with the product, you came up with the service, you came up with the business, or you tested it to the point where it now is. And then you have a call to action. Yeah. So as I said, like there's nothing difficult about this. What we're going to do is practice these things, right? So what I need you to do is practice these things. Let's take some questions. If you're a very experienced storyteller and you can start us with like some big suspenseful thing, that's fine. So I don't think there's a hard and fast rule about it. What often happens is that because you know the story and nobody else does, if you start with a hook or with high suspense, we're not invested yet. So it can feel like, so what? So what feels like to you, like this big moment of drama, can feel like, huh? Either confusion or like a so what moment, and then you've done it right at the start. So now you got to recover from the, in my family we call it, when someone tells a story and it's going on and on, and you're like, it's not going anywhere, and then you're like, and then I found $30 because you got to give them something, right? So you've started and you're there and you haven't gotten the feedback, and so you lose your direction and you lose your confidence and etc. Right? So I'm not a huge fan of taking a big risk with your storytelling from the first minute, right? Give us more to hold on to, establish that connection and credibility, and then hit us with the wow. Yeah? Make sense? Also, often when people tell stories, they want to talk a lot about the lessons. And it's not that people aren't interested in the lessons. It's just that we need to know more details often. So people skimp on the details, either because you lived it so you don't think the detail matters. And it feels counterintuitive because you also think if you're telling people the details about what happened, they're going to get bored. But in fact, it's the details that make people relate to it, right? So it's the things that happen that make people feel like, oh, okay, I know what that looks like. I know what that means. I've been there too. Or I haven't been there, but I know somebody just like that, right? So do tell us some of the details of like what happened. Yeah.
How do you
So start like give us. So when I do workshops with, and I usually do like a very small group, I'm like everything. Just tell me everything. Blah. Tell me like this. And then the process of storytelling is a process of editing down, right? It's like, okay, that doesn't, all right, that's totally irrelevant. And saying it out loud will help you figure that out. If it's in your head or if you're doing it alone, I guarantee you it'll never, you just don't have that outside person who's going to be like, that is super boring. Oh my God. Do you know what I mean? But you also need to have a person who's prepared to do that, right? Or wow. So often what will happen is like, I'm super interested in a detail that the person who's telling me the story is like, that's a nothing. And I'm like, no, that's the thing that your unknowing, just random audience member will be like, huh, you really went there and you did that? So you don't, that's a long way of saying like, you don't know until it's out of your mouth. And so don't be afraid to just go long. So in writing, we call it like, your editor will commission you and you'll be like, how many words? And they'll be like, write to length. Write to the length of the idea. What is the logical progression of the ideas that you need to work out this argument, right? So I'm not gonna, and if that takes 5,000 words, it's probably too much, but write to length, because then as the editor, I can be like, we don't need those 3 paragraphs. That was a waste of time. I didn't need to read that, but I'm glad I know that information. And perhaps there's like one line in there that I need to pull in because it's linked to that, right? So with storytelling, you need to really talk and think to length. Think about the expanse of your experience in founding this enterprise. It's like a super important thing that you have done. You're creating something that you want to have value that's going to last. Do not skimp and rush on the thought process about how it came to be, okay? Because many of the details will really matter, and many of them will fall out, which is fine, because you've got to get to that gem. You got to polish it. So talk to length, and then we'll bring it down. That is the absolute process. Don't be embarrassed about talking too much. Exactly. Yeah, and it won't be like an hour, because right? You've done this enough times. You kind of know. We all know the gig, right? We've all had a million of these trainings. So you know what you know the general arc of the story. But what we're going to do together is getting someone else to listen to it, someone who doesn't know the story. So you two don't tell it to each other, because you already know it. So you're not going to ask the dumb questions. You really need someone to be like, I don't know what that means. And not just technical stuff, like literally, okay, wait, so you started thinking about this like in May, and then only in November next year, like why did it take so long? And in the answering of why it took so long is going to be some really interesting detail that an investor might be really interested in, right? So tell someone who doesn't already know the story, and make it a little bit longer than what your usual like little, your pitch would be. Really think about what happened. Yeah.
Is there an idea of their context of who you bring that pitch or get a story through. Because you've got all this information and you may whittle it down knowing that X amount of people are in this room. So you're trying to get to that. So you discount that bit of information to come down here. But you can have 3 different stories that you tell
Exactly.
in 3 concise ways to 3 different groups.
Exactly.
So how do you kind of go about deciding what information goes in that stream and thinking about delivering it to that specific audience?
You just have to do it. You have to figure it out over time. Sorry, I wish there was a slicker answer. It'd be like, well, there's science. There's no. You have to have a baseline story, right? So what we're working on here is like the baseline story, which is like there are a few objective facts about how you came up with this product. There are some objective facts about your biographical data. Who are you? Why did you come upon this idea? So that's what we're interested in for this session, right? Why are you the best person to sell this product? But why did you think of it? What was it about you that put you on this path to this? Again, because right now that's what we've got, right? We've got a product, but we've also got you as the seller of that product, right? And then as you go, you will be able to adjust and adapt, tell the shorter version about the introduction part and like expand a certain part, but that really just is about practice and thinking about your audience differently. So you're talking to a generally smart audience. Yeah. You're a smart person who will ask dumb questions, but also really smart questions because they are, as all of us are in this society, attuned to what a story looks like. We know what to expect. And so the other thing to play with is when you surprise people. So this is kind of like your suspense or your hook question that you were asking earlier. You do want to surprise people, but you want to do it in ways that aren't jarring and going to confuse people, right? So you're playing a little bit with convention sometimes, with chronology, that's all fine. But first we just have to get the baseline story, and then we can play with it for different audiences, for different things, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So pitch for that's 4 or 5 minutes is not a TED Talk. So don't, you're not going to do all of that sort of grandstanding thing. You're going to really focus and know that you're speaking to people who have a potential to help you with investing. And they also have a potential to help you because they're in a similar mindset. They're curious, they're exploring. So you're going to say the things that are about curiosity and exploration because that's the baseline interest level in the room. Like it's a bunch of people who are into innovation, right? So you're not going to say the word innovation. Please let us not use the word innovation. Sorry. I do this all the time at Bloom. They're like, we're a center for innovation. I'm like, yeah, but what we're not going to do is use the same buzzwords and jargon, like to say that all the time, right? So you're going to figure out different words and images. I think that's where my presentation ended, and now I'm going to get you to do some stuff. Oh, yeah. Okay. Be authentic, know your audience, keep it simple. So avoid jargon, use some visuals, but not too many. Okay. Don't do what I've done, like have a lot of words there. Don't do that. Okay. Practice what I do not preach. So this is usually for people when they're actually doing a story, like when they're actually doing a presentation. And I always say, know your first line and know your last line, because often the thing that's hardest to do is start. And so what people do is spend a lot of time explaining themselves and telling us their name again. Will everyone be introduced? Yeah. So they will already have told us your name. If you tell us your name at the beginning, no one is going to remember anyway, right? So don't waste time. I call it the curtains. Like you're hiding behind these curtains, which are about settling your nerves and like fiddling with the curtains, and actually just like open the curtains and be like, so it was a really hot day in Parapadu and I just arrived. Okay, just tell your story. Okay, so don't fiddle around. Know what your first line is. So that's why it really is important to have that memorized. Nothing else. Don't memorize anything else because that's comes across as inauthentic. You'll stumble, you'll make mistakes. So don't memorize, but know your story. Practice, practice, practice. Do not memorize. Memorize your first line. Memorize your last line. Because the other problem is that we often don't know where to stop, right? So we keep going because now we're nervous and we've got some feedback, but we don't actually know where we're going to actually land. So you need to land the plane. That's what I call the Simone Biles landing. You know how when Simone, she will do the tumble, but man, she makes it stick, right? She like lands and she does not move, right? So you need to have a Simone Biles landing. That last line nail it, know it, and then once you said it, do not continue. Because people do that all the time, right? You're just wasting time, and it's just nerves. Okay. Practice, practice, practice. Do not memorize, practice, practice, practice. So like for a 4-minute pitch about your business, you're going to have 1 or 2 characters. You're the main character. And then it's like, my mom was always like, you need to study harder. And so you need to, tell us your mom. And my mom is a migrant woman who blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? You're giving us big, bold sketches just for us to understand, like you're this kid doing their homework and, anxiously or whatever, right? So create an image. So you're going for what we call show, don't tell, right? So you're going for painting a picture rather than using the words. What does innovation look like rather than using the word innovation? Okay. So what you're doing is something like, I was the type of kid who, and then you're painting us the picture of what you did. By the time I was 7, I had won every championship, whatever. What was the type of kid you were? Likes trying heaps of cool things, like what? This is a great illustration. Can we picture what that looks like? No, because you're using, like, I loved connecting and talking to people. What did you do? Okay, just like give us like 9-year-old you. Yeah. Okay, little far out. Give us 13-year-old you. Just create a picture of you as a like little, what's your business? Okay, yeah. So you're into like socializing, events app, etc. Yep. Okay. So paint us a picture that's relevant for your business that is like 13-year-old you. Okay. Where did you go to school? Yep. Okay. We know where Aquinas is. We do know where Aquinas is, don't we? Okay. So some people will. So who says yes? Who said yes? Okay, that's interesting. And what do we know about Aquinas? You're sitting next to him. What do we know about Aquinas? It's an all boys private school. Okay, so we're putting you in a certain place. Okay, for better or worse. So if you're going to tell us that you went to Aquinas, for some people in the room, there's going to be an immediate connection and an immediate decision made about what that means about you. Okay, so you went to an all boys school. Were you a boarder or did you stay at home? Stayed at home. Okay, tell us a bit more. What else were you doing? So you were at 13 years old. You're at Aquinas. Tell us a few more things. What are the after school activities that you're doing? Cricket. Okay. Soccer. Oh my God, all 3. Oh, geez. Okay. Oh my God. Okay, so you're busy. Okay, so this is not my kid. Okay, so again, it tells me that you're a particular type. So this is very helpful. Okay, so I was the kind of kid who did debating, cricket. You just name 3 things. I could go on, but I won't. Okay, so that's not going to take a long time, but we're building a picture of you that connecting and chatting with friends did not give us. Do you understand what I mean about the detail? And it's going to be important because we're now building a picture of someone who we can trust, someone who's gone to a great school, has been involved in community, has done all this stuff. Again, this is like a super crude example, but that's what I'm talking about. Using words like connecting and socializing versus showing us what connecting and socializing actually looks like. It means being a member of the cricket team. Okay, were you good? Are you being self-deprecating or were you just okay? Yep. And you kept playing cricket even though you weren't like amazing because of why?
I played it for the enjoyment of sports, and eventually I moved into playing volleyball instead for some of my friends. I enjoyed that a lot more.
Okay, so you really are a social guy. Okay, this is great. Okay, so we're gonna build on that, right? So when you're in your group and team, that's what when I'm talking about details, that's what I'm talking about. They may seem like really silly, but we don't know them. And so we don't know what's important until we start asking you, but you're building a picture. You're showing us, not just telling us. Okay. Any other questions? You want to get into it? What time is it? Oh my God. Okay, we need to move. Okay, please get into groups. Let's see, how many are we? 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 10, 14 of you. Let's get into groups of 3 if you can. And there might be like an extra hanger-oner. So it's little groups of 3. And I want you've already been thinking about it, to tell the story of like how you came up with this idea. Okay, who are you? Why are you the best person? How did you come up with this idea? Why was it you? Yeah? And just talk it out in your groups. And then when we come back together again, I'm going to give you 15 minutes for this. I'm going to give you 20 minutes for this. Okay. If you do it in less time, that's fine. I want to give you 20 minutes. And then when we come back together, we're going to take a few examples and then we're going to give notes back, right? So we're going to need a few volunteers to just stand up and do it. And then I'll give you notes about what's working like really fantastically and what's not. Okay. All right, let's get to it. You'll just choose your own groups, or do you need me to babysit? I know, I'm sorry. I'm a mother. I excel in guilt tripping. Yeah. Where's my phone? Okay, well, good. Thank you. Yeah. 2:15. 2:30. Yeah, you too.
This is great.
Yeah, thanks for those questions. Very helpful.
Good.
Yeah.
These guys are going to have, just for your information, they're going to be giving a template on how they're going to go, on how they're going to structure their pitch. So the beginning is they're definitely going to start with a problem, and I think for that's where this is going to this. Then towards the end, it's going to have another specific slide. It's going to be why me or why our team.
Perfect. So we might invert it, but that's fine.
That
Perfect.
Perfectly.
Perfect.
They are from the same team. They're from the same team. Is it better for them to stay in one group or swap and be with people that they don't?
I feel like they should swap, but I mean, if they prefer to, I'm not going to force it.
Yeah.
If they really think, but honestly, it's better for someone who's never heard the story to hear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will.
Oh, sorry.
My team's heading out.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, but clear, it doesn't have to be being honest. You just say like, oh yeah, let's see.
You can start again.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Then the encounter.
are targeting. Yeah, so what expecting are they coming? That was such a, and we are.
How have you been?
Good. Yeah. Busy. We're growing quite a bit at the moment. Hey, in the team, well, Josh is 1 day a week, but even growing.
Oh my goodness.
So whenever it's in the team,
Wow.
just have.
And so this thing that you've applied to, the UN thing, is that a full-time role?
No, it's a volunteer role.
Okay.
I mean, I've been volunteering with them for about 6 months.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So what do they do?
Lots of events.
Yeah.
They're bringing people together.
Yeah.
Awareness.
Nice.
You know, some children.
I
You
don't.
will love that.
Really?
Yeah, she's just so how can I say inspirational? You know, she's really I don't know, just great. You know, when
Yeah.
you talk to her, you feel motivated.
Yeah.
And also like you need to get involved. Most of the people that are lawyers, right? And I'm like, well, I'm not a lawyer. If I'm going for this role, and I was really honest, like,
Yeah.
and she's like, we have a lot of lawyers. We want people that care. That's
Exactly.
who we want.
Exactly.
So, you know, it's
Yeah.
kind of like,
Yeah. Oh, that's
so I
great.
didn't feel as excluded because, you know, if they don't say that to you, it's like, well, they're all lawyers. I'm going for human rights, but it's just because I can, not because we can always support you.
Yeah.
Create
Getting it done.
together.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, very cool.
Because we organize a lot of events. That's what they want, like panel events.
Yeah.
Bring, like, so
Yeah.
that I can do.
You can do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really excited. Really excited.
Nice. And this is a good group.
It's good. So we have also like a student committee
Mhm.
of about 15 students.
Wow.
Of course, it's great because any idea that we have is like, what do you guys think?
And then they can run with it.
Yes.
Or not, because they can tell you whether or not it makes
All the
sense.
timing, you know, is it a good time to run this? Like, oh, it's exam week, or it's like,
Yeah. Because you lose touch with that when you're not.
when they tell me it's week 7, I'm like, I don't know. When is that? When is week 7?
How are your kids? Yeah.
My son is just, you know, growing,
Oh, that's great.
which is good. And my daughter is like, she was struggling at the beginning. I think I mentioned to you.
Good. Yeah.
Now she's a lot better. It's taking a bit.
How old is she? 16. That's such a hard age.
It is a hard age. You know, she's been in the same school now for almost 2 years, so that's helping.
She like so there's some stability there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about your kids? How are they going?
Good. My daughter is year 12. She's about to finish.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Yeah, so she's not even going to school anymore. They're just studying. It's exam. Now it's, it's the final push.
What is the difference between year 11 and 12? Like my daughter is in year 11. She's
Yeah.
like so stressed, a lot of like test exams.
Yes.
Is it as hard or harder?
Well, because my daughter dropped a lot of her ATAR subjects, she's still going to uni, but she just chose the pathway. So she's only doing 2 ATAR subjects,
Okay.
which means that actually year 12 has been so much easier for us than year 11. And she already got her early admission to Murdoch, so that's easy. We know for sure she'll go, and we'll wait to hear from UWA and from Curtin.
Does she know she wants to study like?
Psychology.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Be
So
careful that like.
I know we're already being analyzed all the time.
Your grandma talking.
Exactly. So it's actually been with her pretty okay, pretty cruisy year.
That's great.
Also because she's 17, she's very self-motivated. So she just hit into a certain, I don't know, something clicked and it's like,
When did that happen? Because I think my daughter is still quite like innocent, dependent, and I'm waiting for that when it's like.
I think honestly it's very recent.
Okay.
I would say like towards the middle of this year where it just felt like she understands, she can see the pathway, like she's almost finished school. She did the applications herself. You know what I mean? She just
Is she driving now?
she's driving. So a lot of things like fell in place. She was very good with her lessons, with her test. She failed so many times because she was anxious. She failed so many times, but she kept persisting and then she got it. So she just feels like she kind of, yeah, I would say in the last few months. And then the boy, boys are slow. Boys are.
So your son is in year what, 9?
He's in year 9.
So the same as my son, then, year 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice age.
It's a nice age. It's sweet, but also a little bit. He's become a bit moody. Not too bad, but he has his moments where he's like, wanting to be a bit by himself.
It's a contrast because they still need you and like
Exactly.
like couple and cuddle, but at the same time, what I'm not used to is really not to me. Like in the past, he wouldn't say no directly. Like, I'm doing this no. What do you know?
Especially because I would never say no to my mother.
Oh no.
I was
never allowed to say no.
No, so there wasn't even an option. When I say, can you do this? I'm saying you will do this, but they don't.
It's like, why do you say can you if I don't have a choice to say no? So, okay, well, what do you want me to say? Do it. If you know what then do it, ask me, can you?
Culture. This culture, I'm telling you, it's so crazy. But now my son is so big now. He's taller than me. So it's like also feels so strange. It's not easy to cuddle him. He's like, I'm looking up at him.
He come up and pretends to be
Yeah.
like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So all the time, like sometimes it's like he's playing, but he can't hit me.
Oh, God.
Playing.
And it's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. And now he calls me little lady.
Little, imagine me. I'd be like a bitch.
Yeah. I'm like, what did you call me? It's like, because now I have to ask him, can you get that for me? And he
Really?
just goes, "Sure."
Nice.
It's weird.
Does he call you bro?
Every day, bro. I told him he's not allowed to. I'm like, I'm not your bro. It's like, bro, but I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not your bro.
No, I'm the bro.
Let me check on these people.
And we have that conversation at the
Any questions? You good?
And he was like, he like read.
Are you gonna sneeze?
Oh, it's gone. It's gone.
I never know whether that's good or bad. Sometimes I'm like, it'll come back.
So I haven't gone into it too much because I'm very entry level at the moment. I do content creation on the side for like UWA and that. And what I'm going for is the type of scroll stuffing, hyper engaging content that keeps you engaged every like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Something's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know how to package that into
A story.
story. Can I tell you what I've got so far? So on a competition.
Yeah.
What's your average scroll time? What's your average phone time every day? You tell me.
Oh my God. Last week it was 6 hours because I've been listening to podcasts.
6 hours the whole of last week or day?
Yeah, I averaged 6 hours a day.
Well, that's a lot. And
Yeah.
I relate to that because
Yeah.
last week I think it was 8 hours.
Oh my God.
And, yeah, and the reason that is,
I was shocked when I hit 6, and I realized it's because I had listened to podcasts to get to sleep, and I'm falling asleep.
yeah,
And so the podcasts are still playing. Yeah.
like I listen to Reddit while I'm in the car. I call my girlfriend all the time. I scroll, and I do scroll a lot. And because of
me
that,
too.
I'm pretty used to the climate. You can go through 100 reels, and you might only watch one.
Yeah.
And that goes into I do scroll my car. I do scroll my bed. I do scroll while I'm at uni. So I see a lot of brands. They make the type of content that I click away from straight away because it's boring. After the first 3 seconds, I don't even know what they're talking about. And I take that into my approach when I make content for businesses. When I work at UWA, I know what students want. What a student wants is quick content. It engages you. It's fun. And then when I'm looking at content for, I haven't done this yet, but bars. I did one for a bar, and what I look for is people want to hear the music. And I take that approach. I create hyper engaging content. I want I make visuals every few seconds, sound effects, and the type of stuff that gets users engaged so that you get hype. But on top of that, that translates into comments, engagement, shares, ticket sales. I specialize in events.
Yeah.
I don't know what to take it from that.
So that's good. What you don't have is examples.
Examples.
So throw in, like, so when you say, that it, so even from the beginning where you're like, I'm with Reddit, I'm with my girlfriend on the phone, I'm doom scrolling, that is like all amazing because it's very specific. So we can all see that.
Yeah.
And then when you move into the section where you now talk about like what did you say? So when I'm developing something for UWA, I know what students want. They want you know, Mitchell, yeah. So tell us what that looks like.
Right.
Last week, so for example, last week I did blah, 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 blah. So rather than describing that, because we know that students are going to want, you know, engaging, fast moving, blah, 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 just tell us. So either, I mean, with yours, it's simple because you can literally show us. But if you're just talking about it, you can actually describe it. I did one of what? Give me an example of what that looks like.
So just the other month, I was doing a video for UWA. It was based on a trend called performative males.
Yeah.
So I did a performative male video, but also on top of that, I don't believe in just shit posting.
Yeah.
You've all seen shit posts, just
Yeah.
random trends memes.
Yeah.
But that doesn't translate into your actual content. So I took that to UWA, performative male study spots. And I showed
Study spots.
Study spots.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah, I took you around campus, showed you some cool spots, added the boo-boos and all that
Yeah.
really added
Perfect.
the plus. And that engaged my content. We're looking at, I believe it was almost 5% engagement rate, which is crazy. It's way better than podcast.
Yeah.
Business.
Yeah. So exactly. So I think you've got it. You clearly know your stuff, and you just need the examples, and then you're fine.
Okay.
You might want to yeah, I mean, I guess the question is going to be like, why you versus any other young person who could, you know, come up with this stuff as well. So like, maybe give us a bit of you.
Okay. I study UWA. I do business management on the side. Half of that major is marketing, but my second major, and I chose this purely out of interest, communications and media science. I engross everything in my life to do with media.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of Reddit. I
Yeah.
use Discord.
Yeah.
I watch YouTube videos on the most random topics. All the way from AI girlfriends to this YouTuber that got canceled for these reasons. I
Yeah.
know why people fall out online. I know about cancel culture. I know about all these buzzwords that you'll hear about, but more so why they work.
So one way to translate that into kind of storytelling language is by saying something like, I'm a gossip. I'll admit it, I'm a gossip.
I'm a gossip queen.
Okay, I'm a gossip queen. I love the internet, dramas, and then just give us like one or two things that people will know. I don't know whether it's like Love Island. Again, I don't know the stuff, but you know, something that will immediately be like, show that you're deep in it, but you're also like super mainstream with it. Like, do you know what I mean? Just give us 2 or 3 examples. So what you've done is define yourself as a gossip, right? So you're making fun of yourself, but you're also kind of defining what that landscape looks like. You might find a better word for it. I'm just using that because that's what kind of immediately came to mind as we talk. But I guess what I'm trying to say is you're always looking to get underneath what's with a bigger word that defines you, that puts you in a particular box, as it were. That's a bit of an abstract word. You want people to relate to you, or even if they're not gossips and they can't relate to you, they know what you mean. It's going to give them a smile, but it's also going to help them to be like, oh, so he really knows what's up. You know.
I know what students like. I know what they know. YouTube. Well, the thing is, I feel like if I pitched it now, it wouldn't make sense. But certain YouTubers do call-outs. KSI had his own call-outs. Certain YouTubers.
Who did KSI fight with? Oh my God.
Dan CDM, a Minecraft YouTuber.
Because my kids are really into KSI.
Don't let him watch. He's a massive platform guy. He uses AI friends because no one likes him in life. But it's an interesting case study.
I'm the one the black guy who has the bandana, who always wears the bandana to show his big forehead.
Secure, yeah.
Yeah, about his forehead.
Yeah. It's horrible.
I literally watched, I'm not even kidding, over 2 hours worth of content just on his recent drama with Dan TDM.
See, it's great gossip. So maybe if you're with an like slightly older audience like this one, you would call it like gossip and drama. Your like sort of digital native audience, you would
Chronically online.
exactly chronic. Even that, I know what that means.
Yeah.
So feel like I'm chronically online, and then you go and say all your stuff, and you've already illustrated it at the beginning. So I think you're great. I think you're doing really, really well. So the only addition I would have is a little bit about you and why you. It's because a lot of people in your generation are chronically online, right? So I need a little bit more vulnerability, something more about you. When I say vulnerability, I don't mean like something that's going to make us cry. I just mean giving us a little bit more but you specifically, why you?
Okay, I'm surrounded by a lot of people with high follow accounts. And, they know everyone. They go across the street, they know everyone, and they're on all these big show ads and these big show photo shoots. And then I look at them and I feel like so little to that.
Yeah.
Because like I have under 1,000 followers on Instagram.
How many?
Under 1,000.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't actually have a high following. I
Yeah.
actually know people in UWA.
Yeah.
But I've been seeking to get through that. And
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah.
the reason I want to get into content creation is I want to expose myself. And I
Interesting.
want to meet new people.
Yeah.
So I can connect. And I'm doing so because this is how we
Yeah.
make money, but more
Yeah.
importantly, it's what I find fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. So there's something there about growing up chronically online, being surrounded by a bunch of people who you see, and then actually realizing, sure, they may have high follower accounts, but I know I'm going to learn how to do that for others, right? That's you know what I mean? So think about making that connection between being surrounded by these people and then being like, I could go that route, but actually I'm going to make 1,000 of them. Like I'm going to create the content that goes wild, right? But yeah, no, I think you're on 100% the right track. Very good. Yeah. Did you want to?
I don't have anything, but I just want to ask, like, with any storytelling, right? Because I'm very into creative. I'm very into creative writing,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Does it help with any storytelling when there's some skill from the creative writing?
Oh, absolutely. Most of the people I work with at the Center for Stories, it's creative writing. So it's the same techniques. It's show, don't tell. It's vulnerability. It's high stakes. It's, using language, beautifully, all of that stuff. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Check out the Center for Stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm really
Into creative writing. Mm. Oh, go to the website of the Center for Stories. Just check it out now. Okay, what time are we at?
So long to build.
Okay, let's go.
I think like.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I'm looking at the right job. That's it.
How are we going, guys?
They can directly.
Yeah. One more story.
Can directly chat to the chatbot, but chatbot is quite difficult. It needs a lot of technology, right?
Yeah.
In one of the next to you.
Sorry, how are we going? Has everyone gotten through this story? You're on your last one. Okay, so I'll let you guys finish up. Okay. Has everyone gone through their story? Has everyone had a chance? So you've done your.
I'm done with story.
Was just asking question. How much is this? You are.
Yeah, that's more just like how much is the actual personal story. Because also, I am representing a company with stakeholders, and so it's like I feel like that could be I can authentically
Yeah.
like that is
Yeah.
what I can't do.
Yep.
So that is like that's usually the route I go when I'm talking to investment types and stuff.
Yeah.
It seems like them. But I don't know whether that's if you've seen the audience, you've like is this like your
I haven't been to one of you guys's, but I've gone to the Bloom one. So yeah, I get that. I get the room.
Yeah, so ours will probably be next stage. So these guys are asking for anywhere between 500.
Okay, so you're asking for real money.
Yeah, and there is like sort of funds are in the room. And
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
slightly different than
Yeah.
the,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
so okay, I can do like the the delusional founder / problem story pipeline, or I can do the like this is you can I can start off with like a story like it's like start a company, this person, $2 grand in the bank, know the right people, turn down jobs and they
Yeah.
and then scramble things together. We do this, we do that. So we're gonna have 2 years though.
So that's
a lot to be.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say. So you've got more to say. So this really is like if you're a super early stage founder and there isn't much more to say and you've got to get people to believe in you, then yeah. But if you feel like there's a lot to say about the product, you do want to spend a little bit of time on like, yeah, so I've been in the game for X. So I think it is still important to say you've been in the game for X amount of time. You need to do some of it. Yeah, you've got to do the credibility, and you've got to do the credibility in a way that doesn't look like profit founder. You know what I mean? Like you've got to, because people are expecting that now, right? So you still got to do that. But yeah, you're going to have more to say about your product.
Yeah.
I just feel like if you don't have that much more to say about your product and you don't have runs on the board, then you need to focus more. Yeah. Yeah.
I was suggesting that maybe move that part of the story into the problem. Like make this the problem that you wanted to focus on.
Yeah, there's a reason why you chose this problem to solve.
Yeah, and how that then led to a solution for that. Because these guys don't. How that did that, what that kind of looks like. And that's
So what's the problem that you're solving? You're like, how much do I dumb this down?
Essentially, I'm trying to create a stable form of passive income.
Okay. Like how? How can I get in on this?
Currently, most people either take real estate,
Yep.
investment,
Yep.
and essentially what we're trying to hold investment where you can have a percentage ownership stake of revenue might be the revenue of the mine site, which can involve it.
Okay.
The legal technical plans.
It's such a specific idea. So why?
This is the pitch to the general.
Yeah.
Public.
Yeah.
So you of course like we've got like the great things with building the realestate.com for line sites. You have like for example like real estate agents. There's a way to advertise like marketing. Of their then you have the general consumers on the website is used as a way to get information to basically make sure they can make the right investment decision. Then you have like the large scale company fund managers then use all that intelligence platform to help make better decisions. There's also that's like looking at building this sort of thing.
So it's
it's lots of it's like a distribution channel.
Yeah. It's a great idea. Yeah, I can see why it's done well. I guess the only question that you have to answer, and if the investors in the room will already know this, then that's great. But the only question then they need to answer is like, why should we trust you?
It's also going to be like depending on how like certain
So there's the telling of the story about the successes you've had in the runs, like just what proof of concept, right? Like that's it. But there's also like, so why should you trust me? And so that's the only. So if there's any personal element, it's the why should you trust me?
Yeah. I feel like a really strong start, which I probably don't know, is like I used to work for a startup and quite successful. In the space I started with I was there. The first junior employee who had background in and then product was
so I don't see why that's overused.
But it's one of the problem I faced when I was at the college. It didn't matter that I was trying to find these opportunities that were like technology and that was the problem I tried to tackle after. So I had to it's a big place to figure out. I just slept.
It's crazy. So I feel like you've got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like we did the first public launch, but it's like someone did a LinkedIn.
I wanna bring everyone back. Can we come back and have a couple of? Can we get back into it and just get a couple of volunteers who are going to take the risk? Who's prepared to take the risk? 2 people, 3, perfect, 1. You've been nominated. Okay, great. Okay, you're at the front already. Why don't you go?
Yes. Okay, so I'll stand up.
Yes, please do.
So as you know, back in my high school days, a lot of things. I got to try debating, athletics, chess, production. I can go on. And through these many activities, I met a lot of amazing people, a wide range of people, but I found it really hard to make those deeper, those stronger connections. When I went to university, again, there was a lot of people to meet. But also, university isn't what it was. It's hard to meet like-minded people. Then on exchange, it was the same again in terms of being people. But in exchange, we bonded over shared values, our love for traveling, exploring the world. And it was this underlying thing around shared values that is what our app is trying to achieve, which is finding deeper connections based on shared values to make your life and your connections the best it can be.
Okay, that was like 1 minute. So very, very brief. You got, you said a lot in a short period of time. So I think you've done well with giving us some personal information about why you are an outgoing guy who's shared values. And we're probably too far down the spectrum of the personal at this stage, just because that's what I focused on in, in what I gave you. So we probably need to then move very quickly from the, I did all these things, I'm this kind of person, to the, and so when I was thinking about a startup, or when I came across this particular thing, so what we don't have at the moment is an inciting event. And so I came up with this app. I came up with this idea, right? So we've got to move quickly from the high level intro about who you are and why should we connect with you and trust you, into what it is that you're doing and telling a story about how that came to be. Does that make sense? So that's the next connection. So you've done the beginning part, and it's a very quick and sophisticated transition into, and so I came up with this idea. I can see where it's going to go, but very infancy stage. So good job for getting up there and being the first to go. Yeah.
Before I go into the pitch, I want to hear, what's your guys' daily phone usage? Any volunteers?
2 hours, 43 minutes, I think.
Wow,
Who can be
very
that?
specific.
Who can be that?
8 hours.
8 hours. Oh, shit. Okay, who's saying 8 hours?
Oh, you should.
8 hours. 9 hours last week. Oh.
15 hours.
Oh my God.
That's a lot. Okay, and what are we splitting that into? Doom scrolling or?
No, I've just been away.
Well, fair enough. I don't know about 15 hours. I did reach 9 last week, and that's split up between a lot of platforms. Like, I listen to Reddit while I drive. I watch a lot of YouTube while I study. I do scroll on my bed, in class, in anywhere I go to, really. And I take that very seriously. I love media as a platform in general. I watch a lot of niche content on YouTube, like different 4chan dramas, or I watch 2 hours worth of content on KSI beefing with Dan TDM. And I love doing that. But I also look at these content creators and I think, I wish I had a big platform, or I wish that I could do this cool shit
put it on camera and post it online. And so I did. I started doing content creation for Venture, even for UWA. But more importantly, I already know a lot of students. I know what they want as a student. I know what stops me from doom scrolling online. And you look at a lot of businesses, their content's boring. It's honestly either shit posting or it doesn't add much value. And so for Venture, I did a lot of, I did one event promo for UWA. I did a performative mail video for them. That went really well. It got about at least 3 times more engagements, looking at almost a 5% engagement rate. And that's what I do. I've got a speak with a club coming up soon, and yeah, just do content.
Fantastic. Okay, so what worked about that? Yeah. So he got us in very quickly, not just with being engaging, but being engaging in a way that built immediate connection and relatability. Yeah, very relatable, because there isn't a single one of us who doesn't have a phone, who doesn't know what it means to just, whether it's 2 hours or whether it's 9 hours or whether it's 15, feeling like you spent feeling like you spent too much time online, right? So you got us and you hooked us in very quickly and in a really great way, and it relates directly to what it is that your business is. So yeah, good, well done on that. So, and what you also did was you gave us a few data points, which of course is important, you know. So I did this one and it, you know, 5%, whatever, more engagement, et cetera, et cetera. So you're definitely heading in the right direction. And again, the thing about it is always to like start really wide. And I know we don't have time, this is just a simulation, but you're definitely headed in the right track. Again, it's about having a tight and super concise cell. So it's like, so therefore, again, chronologically, so if you think about what happens when we hear a narrative, it's like, I did this. In your case, you've built authenticity. So I spend way too much time. I've always spent way too much time on the thing. In fact, 3 years ago, I was spending so much time that blah, blah, blah. Or I was like so jealous of all these content creators who had so many, you know, so tell us. So what I mean is introduce into what is already super engaging and interesting and relatable to many people. Introduce a narrative line, beginning, middle, end. Right? Just to help us follow, because what happens is that we don't follow, because now there's like, you're giving us a lot of information and then you're going to throw in there that you've got a business, right? Again, super early stage. But the thing about having a beginning, a middle, and end means that you are giving us a narrative arc to follow through till the end of it. Yeah? But really great, really good. Thank you. Okay, we need someone else, someone who's doing a technical thing. Great.
My name's Ash, by the way. I came in late.
No worries. Hi, Ash.
How many of you here have played or know someone who played Minecraft?
Oh.
I don't play.
It was beyond my imagination, realizing that Minecraft would help me learn so much about myself. When I played the game, I would always be asking, how is everything inside here made? And that made me realize I am a person who loves learning about problems and how to solve them. So a couple of weeks ago, I found myself low-cost gauges that can measure the extent of water heights, and we've built a flood extent modeling system where you can visualize the 3D extent of the flood. That's it.
Wow, okay. Okay. Measures the extent of flash flooding. So like, talk me through this.
So when flooding happens, it covers a lot of land, and it's hard to know how much land has actually been covered when you just look at the numbers that indicate what the water height is.
Right.
We've built a system that shows an image, a map,
Right.
that shows you visually how much land has actually been covered by the water.
Okay.
So that the DFS people can inform the communities where they should relocate to be safe.
Okay, so this is going to save people's lives.
Yes.
Okay, so we need to raise the stakes. Okay, so your introduction example about loving Minecraft is really like sweet and cute and has nothing to do with saving people's lives from potential flooding. Okay, so this is a great example because it's a complete mismatch between the tone you want to set at the beginning. So you want to be credible, you want to be relatable. And if you talk to us about Minecraft, but we now hear that a government agency has tasked you with saving our lives by developing this image, I'm going to be like, right? This is jarring. Okay. So exactly. Clicked in the wrong direction, like truly. Okay. So great. Again, this is why it's really good to get it out, right? It's good to share it because you were going with connection. But what isn't coming through is the credibility given the nature of the problem that you're trying to solve. So you need to keep in line with the nature of the problem that you're trying to solve. So think about another introduction that gets us to see you as like super smart and also that tells us a story about the risk of flash flooding. So all of us will have recently heard about the thing in Texas. Was it Texas in America where like all these kids died and the huge the river rose and like all this stuff. So this is a great example of one where it doesn't have to be about you, but it is something that will get our attention, that people will have immediate there's a currency to it. So that's another thing I didn't mention, but you've reminded me. Currency is a hugely important thing. And so it's in the news, people are talking about it. No, currency as in like it's newsworthy. It's a current affairs issue. That's right. So people are talking about it and thinking about it. So great, right? This is really, really helpful as an illustration of like how you start is how you want to finish, right? That's why I said it. How you begin, the tone, the thing, it needs to be consistent with what it is, the nature of the problem and the business that you're having. So think a little bit, you sort of take this forward, and as you're thinking about your pitch, you really want to think a little bit about something that's more serious, that's more rigorous, that's really about, how you came up with this idea. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, good stuff. Okay, thank you. Another one, last one? About 5 minutes. Yep, great. Okay.
So back in 2019, I had this. So in high school, what we were doing is there's Steam, like the Steam marketplace channel. Okay, so there's on there, you've got a marketplace. You can sell your video game items. Okay, so what I did is I had this product where I would web scrape, and web scraping is this process where you write a program which like pulls data from a website into like your computer code.
Okay.
Okay, so I had a web scraper which would monitor the marketplace, and then it would like refer me good trades.
Okay.
Let's say. Okay, so, and this was there's a long story here which I'm going to not tell, but that paid for my entire uni degree.
Okay, well, that's a great story already. Okay, keep going.
So, moving on. So that was one project I did, and that, keep in mind the web scraping bit. A bit later, I was like at uni just doing stuff, messing around, and I got interested in like sports gambling. I do maths and stats, and I was looking at like various different like CS:GO, so Counter-Strike, another game, betting sites. And I wrote a web scraper to scrape the like betting odds from all of these sites and like pull them together to see if there's like arbitrage opportunities. There's not, and I'm not going to go into why. And so again, I was like writing web scrapers to scrape data from these sites, pull it together, do some analysis. The third thing is then I got employed at this company, a startup here in Perth, in Frio, called RegNet, and they like monitor laws all around the world. And what they do is they have hundreds of web scrapers. They scrape laws, pull that data in, and they give companies alerts for when a law that is relevant to them changes. They can stay compliant. That's the product. And again, like we're scraping laws, but then like at the very start of this year, I did this like course by MIT, and what they were doing is a thing to do with like energy and AI. I won't go into that, but a project I did for that course was scraping research articles, pulling the data from different research articles like at UWA, automatically analyzing those articles, then doing something with that, which I won't go into. So I was writing web scrapers for UWA's data portal, Curtin's data portal, and all these other ones around the world. And web scraping again. And while I was doing that course, I was also working at RegNet, the regulation company, and there was an issue. We did like an audit of the web scrapers that were there, and we realized that like 30 to 40% of them were not working. And we didn't know about that. So what the issue was that we didn't have like good systems or infrastructure to actually be tracking what those different things were doing. And kind of at that point, I took a step back and I like looked through all of these projects in my life. I'm like, oh my God, I just write web scrapers all the time. So what I did is I started this product called Auto Scraper Maker, which is like, it's an AI product that makes web scrapers for you. And it also like monitors and does all the infrastructure stuff, so you don't have like a critical incident like what we had at RegNet. And yeah, so now RegNet's my first paying customer. Close, done.
Fantastic.
And we have a few more in the pipeline. So I've got this Minecraft come up a few times. I've got this like Minecraft company that VC backed, but they're interested in paying me to like scrape data to feed to them for their product. And then there's a few other opportunities as well. So if you're interested in web scraping or investing, meet my product. Okay.
Fantastic. Really well done. What worked about that?
I think web scraping at first was tough to visualize, but he kept on bringing it up again and again and again.
Yep.
And simplifying as much as he could.
Yep. Yep.
Story was pretty badass.
It was a good story. Yep. I never thought that web scraping would be, I would like be this invested in web scraping, but here we are. Yeah, actually, the fact that it's like so codey and like that stuff actually works to your favor because, you know, when I talked about authenticity and how it's like you're truly telling the story as someone who has done it. You've got the proof because you've got all these experiences. So you've got 3 stories, which is great because we know 3 always works. You've got 3 like very different stories of trying something, failing it, but you know enough about it that you can tell us why that it didn't work. Yeah. So very high ticks on credibility and actually really high ticks on connection because of how you tell it. And I was trying to think about why does it work how you tell it. And I think it works how you tell it because, and you can lean into this, is when you're like, and then I started doing this and that, and you're like, that's a really long story, so I'm not going to tell it. And I think you need to keep saying that. Like choose, that was actually really charming and works well because we can tell there's a long story. And we like the fact that you are not going to tell us that long story, right? So it can become actually quite a thing about your talk. So I would say that's multiple times to the point where people will be like, it's a long story that you're not going to tell, right? Just choose one phrase, or you said that and you said, I won't go into that. Okay, so choose. Okay, it's a long story, I won't go into that. But repeat that phrase multiple times, and those who catch on will catch on. It's nice, right? It keeps us connected and engaged. So those are things that worked well. So what you now need to do is focus on the critical incident because it feels like a big deal, and we need to understand why it's a big deal, a little bit more about the nature of it, because otherwise it feels like from an audience perspective, we're like, it's sort of like you built this up and then it's like, So just. Perfect. Okay, there we go. That feels like a critical incident, okay? So again, critical incident is one of those words that people use as jargon. People are like, and then we had a critical incident. I'm like, what the hell does critical incident look like? And you just painted the picture perfectly. So if we had known that immediately, I wouldn't have had that sort of feeling to, you know, there was this major problem that the web scrapers didn't work. I'm like, so what? They didn't work. 30% of them didn't work. What does that mean to me? So you've just said it. Perfect. Yeah. So again, that's why listening helps, because all of us, I think, experienced that thing where it was like, and then there was this thing happened, and we were with you, even through the technical, like boring stuff. I was fully with you, right? And then you lost me there because I didn't understand the implications of it. So make that clear. And then you were home and sailing. So like once you've got that piece, the rest of it was actually like really good. So again, once you've nailed that piece of it, I feel like you've got a very straightforward, very compelling, actually, well told, confidently told, and told like you. You're not trying to pretend to be something else, which is great. And it's 3:02. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. I mean, I know this was like a very, very teaser, and it probably feels oversimplified, but I guarantee you that if you just think about the principles behind it and practice it, so you go through the steps and go through the process and say it to someone, they will be your meter of where you're not hitting the mark or where it just sounds like wonky or corny or right. Or where it just isn't understandable, doesn't have the coherence because you have it in your head and no one else does. Yeah. So practice, 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 and follow the steps. Yep. Thanks so much, everyone.